Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I am a little bit late with doing this historical romance readathon TBR video, plus giving some recommendations for you guys, but we still have a couple more days before June 28th, Monday, when the readathon starts. So if you still haven't decided on what to read during the week, I do have some recommendations for you based on our little bingo board. I'm not gonna lie, I probably could have made every single recommendation a book by Lisa kleypas, because she's written like every single trope and she would probably have a book for almost everything on that bingo board, but I'll hold off on that. I have a bunch of other authors to recommend you guys, though there will be Lisa kleypas, of course. But before we get into the recommendations, I wanted to share my TBR for the historical romance readathon. I kind of went a little bit crazy on Libby and downloaded a ton of available audios, but since I do read audios a lot quicker than like actually physically reading an ebook or a paperback, I figured it would be a little bit okay. So I borrowed For the Duke's Eyes Only by Lenora Bell, which is book 2 in her School for Dukes series. I actually read book 3 when it released. That was the only book that I read in the series. That was my first book by Lenora Bell and I adored it, so I really want to read more of her. It's got an archaeologist heroine and a fortune hunter Duke hero. It's friends to enemies to lovers. They were childhood friends but broke apart. It's kind of second chance romance as well. The hero broke the heroine's heart. It sounds so good. It sounds exactly like something that I would love. I love those tropes. So for the bingo board, this one fits the Duke in the title. It's got a clinch cover. A purple cover. I mean, it's mostly blue, but the dress is purple. It is part of a series, and I'm hoping, because there's like this whole fortune hunter thing, they're trying to find this artifact, that there's going to be some adventure involved and traveling involved, so hopefully it can check off the not set in Europe box. I also borrowed The Care and Feeding of Waspish Widows by Olivia Waite. This is book 2 in the Feminine Pursuit series. One of the heroines finds this colony of bees in her warehouse. Our other heroine is a beekeeper, so a match made in heaven, right? I read book 1 last year. It was okay, but I do want to give this author in the series another try. I've seen the reviews and they say that it is very, very slow burn. This one also checks the clinch cover box, the series box, and it's also got a single parent. I know Lisa and Jessica love this next one, so obviously I had to read it. It is If the Duke Demands by Anna Harrington, which is the first book in a series in the Capturing the Carlisle series. This one can check the different social classes box in addition to like the series and the Duke in the title. We have a Duke hero and a heroine who is a daughter of farmers, so she is in the lower class. It sounds great. The heroine is in love with this guy. She plans out his seduction and she kisses him at this masquerade ball. But it turns out, of course, he is not the guy that she was in love with. He's actually his older Duke brother. I've been meaning to read another Sherry Thomas book. I think I've read 3 or 4 so far, but I want to read more because I do love her. Her angst is out of this world. So I chose The Luckiest Lady in London, which is one of her more popular books that I have heard so many good things about. This is the first in her London trilogy. It's got the marriage of convenience trope, so we can check that box, and it seems like it's got quite the damaged hero. And I'm also gonna try to finish up the Mayhem in Mayfair series by Grace Calloway. I read book 1, so I borrowed books 2 through 4. Book 2 is Her Wanton Wager, which has a self-made hero, self-made man, so can check that box on the bingo. The hero wants revenge on the man who betrayed him, so he decides to seduce his enemy's sister. They make a wager together. If she can resist 6 nights of seduction from him, then he'll release her brother of his betrayal. Book 3 is Her Protector's Pleasure, which I do actually own thanks to Grace Calloway. This one has another romance with a class difference. The heroine is a lady. She's a widowed lady, and the hero is a police officer. She's also a single mother whose daughter has been kidnapped, so he's tasked with finding her. And book 4 is Her Prodigal Passion, which checks off the Wallflower and Spinster boxes. The heroine is both. They're not mutually exclusive, but I feel like they sometimes do go hand in hand. The heroine, who is a merchant's daughter, she's in love with her brother's best friend. The brother's best friend, our hero, is a gentleman turned prize fighter. Also, there is a marriage of convenience. Onto all the physical books, like ebooks or paperbacks that I'm planning on reading. Of course, I'm reading our group read, Olivia and the Masked Duke by Grace Calloway. This one checks a ton of our boxes. It's purple in the cover. It's got a clinch cover cover. There's Duke in the title. It's part of a series and it is indie published. We've got an age gap romance here. The hero is quite a bit older than the heroine, and the heroine has been in love with him ever since he saved her when she was a child. Our Duke hero is widowed as well with a tortured past. It sounds so great. I'm so excited to read it, and a huge thank you to Grace Calloway for sending me and my co-hosts Lisa and Jessica. She sent us all copies of our group buddy read as well as a couple other books for some giveaways. I'm also planning on finally reading Amanda Quick with Ravished. This one is probably her most popular book, and it's got this beautiful step back. I have heard so many good things about this book everywhere. I know a lot of you guys have told me to read this book, so I finally am. This one, the blurb is pretty vague, but it seems like it could count for the class difference box. It's got some beast hero vibes. The hero is scarred, beastly, known as the devil. So I am very excited to read my first Amanda Quick book. I also want to read a new release, The Wisteria Society for Lady Scoundrels. This is a debut book, I believe, by India Holton. It's got purple on the cover, and I'm also going to count it for the spy box. We've got a thief heroine and an assassin hero. He's been ordered to assassinate her, but he can't do it and falls in love with her instead. I also really want to read another Laura Kinsale book. I finally read Flowers from the Storm and loved it. It was great. It was such a unique historical romance, and I've been dying to read more from this author. Her way with words is very interesting. For My Lady's Heart is her medieval romance. It's got this step back, which does scream medieval. We've got a princess heroine, a knight hero who's sworn to protect her. This book, I feel like it's going to take up a big chunk of my time during the readathon. Laura Kinsale's writing is pretty dense, pretty heavy, but I am really looking forward to it. This last one is one that I will read if I have the time for it, mainly because it is going to be a reread. I have been wanting to reread The Bride by Julie Garwood for so long. I read it years and years ago, but I don't really remember much from it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm kind of wondering if I do end up rereading it, if I'll love it even more and give it 5 stars. This one I think is like her most popular book. For the bingo board, we've got a Scottish hero and a marriage of convenience. This one has the original cover, but it's actually an ARC copy from 1989. On the back it says special advanced reading copy, not for sale, to be published July 1989, but obviously someone sold it like 30 years later to me for $2. It is a really pretty cover though. I love her older original covers. That's it for my TBR though. It is quite ambitious. I probably will not be able to finish all of them, but why not overestimate myself anyway? Onto my recommendations for this round's readathon. These are all based on our bingo board. If you want a spinster romance, there is one in 9 Rules to Break While Romancing a Rake by Sarah MacLean. This was her adult historical romance debut. It is quite long, but I really enjoyed this one. We've got a spinster heroine who wants to break all of her rules, have some fun for the first time, and she gets the help of our rake hero to do so. The Wallflower Wager, which has this step back, it's by Tessa, of course. This one is a great one to read if you're looking for a wallflower romance. We've got a heroine who likes animals more than people, and she falls for her grumpy neighbor. This one would also count for a book with a purple cover. For a Scottish hero, you can't go wrong with Ramsay from All Scott and Bothered by Kerrigan Byrne. I loved him so much. He's this giant of a Scot who just adores our heroine. Well, not at first, but he does grow to just worship the ground that she walks on. Of course, I've got Lisa Kleypas with Where Dreams Begin, and this is the step back. This would count for our self-made man box, our single parent box, and the class difference box. The hero who came from nothing is a rags to riches hero. The heroine is a lady, and he asks her to teach him how to be a gentleman. Vivid by Beverly Jenkins, which I read for last round's historical romance readathon. This one would be perfect for a book set outside of Europe. It's set in America, in Michigan, with a black doctor heroine. She is so great. She's one of my new favorite Beverly Jenkins heroines. Vivid is just fantastic. For a spy romance, How to Marry a Marquis by Julia Quinn is one. Well, kind of. Technically it is, because the hero is a spy, but there's not too much spy things going on in this book. book. Book 1 does have more, but I unfortunately did not love that one, so I'm recommending book 2. Here is what the beautiful back cover looks like. We've got a Marquis hero who has a side job of being a spy for the crown. We've got a class difference here as well with a heroine who is in the working class. Her family is all orphaned and she is the oldest, so she needs to marry someone who can support her family. For a clinch cover or a cover where we have a couple embracing, I mean, I've already showed you guys books that have clinch covers, but might as well recommend another one. I have Scoundrel of My Heart by Lorraine Heath here. I recently read this one and adored it. We've got a heroine who needs to marry someone who is titled. The hero is of course not titled. There's a whole family ruin thing, a secret club, matchmaking involved, lots of longing here as well, and it was just a really lovely read. For Duke in the title, I've got Duke of Sin by Elizabeth Hoyt, which has this step back. It's got an anti-hero here. He was a villain in the earlier books in the Maiden Lane series. There's also a class difference as well. Our Duke hero falls in love with his housekeeper. For a series, I know the Wallflower series by Lacey kleypas is very popular, but you should also check out the Sinful Wallflower series by Stacy Reid. It's got like a similar concept with a group of wallflower friends who want to be more. They create scandals for themselves to try to better like their families and things like that, and of course they end up falling in love. For a marriage of convenience, I highly recommend A Wicked Kind of Husband by Mia Vinci. Mia Vinci is also an indie author, so you could read her for that box. It's a rom-com kind of historical romance. Our main couple, they got married and just never saw each other again after their wedding day, so when they come across each other again for the first time, they don't even recognize each other. For a book with one person on the cover, I've got Lord of Scoundrels by Loretta Chase. I do have the original book, but that one has the clinch cover. This one, the newer edition, and the one that's currently in print, and you can get it for yourself. It's just got the heroine Jessica on the cover. Jessica is literally one of my favorite heroines of all time. She is fantastic. Also, here is what the step back looks like. It's got a marriage of convenience. We've got like a beastly kind of hero almost, and it's also got the best banter that I've ever read. For a book with purple on the cover, I've got another Lacey kleypas book, because why not? This one is Marrying Winterborn, which is book 2 in the Ravenel series. I love this series, and when I say that y'all are not ready for Devil in Disguise, I mean it. It was so freaking good. Just flexing a little bit that I got to read it early. But Marrying Winterborn, we've also got a self-made hero. He pretty much invented the idea of a department store, so he is filthy rich. Its opposites attract between a shy heroine and a savage hero who is obsessed with her, and this is what the step back looks like. And the last box is one that I've gotten a few questions about. It's the one that is indie published. I've got a couple authors to recommend if you're looking for indie published historical romances. I sadly don't read them as much as I do traditionally published historical romances. Like Avon has its claws in me, but I have read and loved some, and I'm also gonna recommend some other authors that I haven't tried just yet, just to give you guys a little bit more options. So here we have Courtney Milan with The Duke Who Didn't. Her more recent releases are indie published. She has published with Harlequin in the past before, but I think she's just been indie publishing now for the last few years. Her Brother Sinister series is also indie published. Darcy Burke is another indie romance author. She just released a new series, the first in a new series called Improper. It's got the ward guardian trope where our rogue hero falls for his ward, but before that happens, he tries to set her up, marry her off, but she does not have any interest in marriage. And of course, Grace Calloway, she has a humongous backlist. Here is another book that she sent over, Never Say Never to an Earl, which is part of her Heart of Enquiry series. If you want an indie published book with a wallflower heroine and a marriage of convenience, this book fits those perfectly. It's also got opposites attract between a wallflower virginal heroine and a jaded dark hero. So that's all I have for this video. Let me know what you guys think about my TBR and the books I just recommended. I am so freaking excited for the readathon to start. It's been a little while since I last binged on a ton of historical romances, and I've been saving it for this readathon. Again, it starts on Monday, June 28th. We'll have a couple giveaways, some Instagram lives with some authors, and it should be a ton of fun like always. If you're joining us next week, let me know what you're planning on reading. If you're interested interested in any of these books, links to them will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!